Right, we're back in the shop on the old Plymouth. I'm finally starting to feel better after being sick one way or the other for 6 weeks in a row. Finally have my voice back. We've got the engine compartment pretty well all cleaned up. All the junk cut out I don't need. I got the shift linkage and the shift lever and all that cut out. The clutch mechanism's all gone. Accelerator linkage is all gone. Got a little spritzy done on the engine bay. And this is actually the original paint. 49 Plymouth firewall paint. Cleaned up really nice. And I spritzed some semi-gloss on the fender wells. And that's where we're going to leave it. So, got that all pretty well ready to rock and roll. So I can then see about putting that 4.3 liter V6 down in there. I got motor mounts bolted to that. I've got this motor mount cross member that I'm going to use. I think what we'll do is put the motor down in the engine compartment for a minute, kind of see where it wants to live and be happy, and then we'll mark kind of for where this cross member needs to go and go from there. I do have when I get this engine off the stand and on the cherry picker, I need to pull the flex plate off and put the rear main seal. I've got a brand new rear main seal to put in. And I want to make sure that my torque converter, which is down there, should line up with some of the holes in the flex plate. Just want to make sure that's all going to go good. I do have a new Y-pipe exhaust that I may mount on there just to kind of see, make sure everything's going to fit right. But the only thing I have left that I need to do is I need to weld this bolt into this fitting. That was for like EGR valve or something. Not going to be using that, so I'm going to weld that on there. We'll cut that head off and make it all nice and decent looking. But I think for the most part, I'm ready to mount that motor on the cherry picker. I'll get some of my mess cleaned up here and get stuff out of the way. We'll hang that motor on the cherry picker and see if it's going to fit down in there and what it's going to look like. So, for now, that's what we got to do. I'm hoping this stupid gearbox is going to be my biggest problem. The motor's probably going to have to sit over to the left a little bit to clear that. Otherwise, if it gives me too much trouble, I may see about putting a rack and pinion steering in this thing. I don't know. I don't want to do that yet if I don't have to. But for now, we're going to hang the motor on the cherry picker and see what we got to do. I still need to cut the old cross member out the rest of the way. That was the old transmission cross member for the 3-speed. I got to finish whacking it off flush with the frame. And go from there. But for now, let me see about getting that motor hung. Alright, catch up with you in a minute. Alright, got updates. They're not very good ones, but they are updates. That's kinda about-ish where that motor wants to live. It really needs to come over here to the driver's side a little more. It needs to go down lower, but I can't do either one of those because, of course, I'm sitting on the steering box like I was afraid I would be. So, I guess my next round of attack will be, I'm probably going to take that steering box out I'll probably cut the steering shaft up in here somewhere. And then I will probably go ahead and get the motor put in where it wants to be. And then I will work on trying to do a rack and pinion steering on this thing. Not what I had hoped for, but that's what we're going to have to do. I believe I'm also going to, just to have more room, I'm going to notch these inner fenders back on both sides, just to give a little more breathing room. That would allow to work on things later, like seeing this side rubbing up against the inner fender, because it really needs to go to the driver's side more, but it can't. And it needs to sit down a little more, but it can't. So I think what I'm going to do on these is I'm going to come up in here somewhere, and I will probably take about 2 inches out of these inner fenders. Just kind of go straight back, and that will give me more room to play. And then I can always fabricate back in there if I want to. Or I may just stiffen them up and leave it open. Who knows? But anyway, that's what I have got to do next. I do have room because the radiator will be coming right here, which will have an electric cooling fan on it. Looks like I'll have plenty of room there for that, which I like. That way I don't have to cut into the firewall too much. I still don't know what it's going to be like for the transmission, because I need to get this motor set down in here like it needs to be. So that's where I'm going to leave you guys for now. Just a quick update on some things. I'm going to do a little marking as far as where the motor mounts are kind of living at, and where I want to cut these inner fenders at. And then I'll be working on that stuff next. So, yeah. Not the best news I was hoping for. I was hoping it was going to be fitting in there a little easier than that, without having to do a bunch of fabric cobbling. But I guess I'm going to have to do some fabric cobbling, which I'm used to that. Just takes longer. Anyway, I will catch up with you guys later on when I get more stuff done. Thanks. All right. The motor is finally sitting in the Plymouth on its own motor mounts and bolted in for the time being. It will have to come back out. The strap is just keeping it from tilting back too far. I did have to cut out a couple of inches of the fender wells on each side. I had to do that. And I did have to remove the steering gearbox off the side. I don't know if you can see down in there. The steering gearbox just kind of floating in midair down there for now. So, you can see the shaft, steering shaft laying there, or sitting there. I will have to figure out a way to steer this beast. I'll cross that bridge when I come to it later. I'm thinking, well, I have ordered a power rack and pinion out of a Chevy Cavalier. We're going to see if I can make something work out of that. My next plan of attack, though, however, is I am going to get the transmission, get this thing up in the air in the front, get the transmission underneath there, and put it up in place and see if there's anything that I'm going to have to do to modify for that. I'm hoping not. There's quite a bit of room back there for the firewall and the back of the motor. So I'm hoping the transmission will fit up in there without having to modify the floor or the firewall. But if I do, I'll worry about that and do that when I get to that point. But for now, this is where I'm going to end this little series at. The motor is sitting in there. And I do have room. I've got a new radiator over there, a new aluminum radiator. I believe there'll be just enough room for that to fit in there. I do think I may have to notch this back a little bit here. I don't know. It's not an exact fit, let me tell you that. But I think I can make it work. But for now, the motor is in place. When I pull this motor back out for like the 10th time, I will finish welding in the cross member, motor mount cross member. It's bolted in place right now. But once everything's finalized, if that's where it's going to be, I will go ahead and kind of weld it to the frame and get that all solid so it doesn't go anywhere. But anyhow, that is it for now. Until next time, thanks.